Last year, St. Kitts and Nevis embraced a bold new vision, one built on resilience, innovation, fairness, and prosperity for all. A vision grounded in 7 pillars that touch every part of our lives: energy, water, food security, the creative and digital economy, infrastructure and housing, the environment, and people, our greatest asset. These pillars are the blueprint for a modern, sustainable island state, a roadmap to a nation that works better, lives cleaner, grows smarter, and creates more opportunities for every citizen and every resident. And in 2025, we saw that vision move from promise to progress, step by step. Investment by investment, project by project, the government led by Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew pushed forward, building, upgrading, training, digitizing, and reforming. Across the country, the transformation became visible. Homes going up, land titles in hand, water finally flowing reliably, new roads opening, farmers and fishers earning more, digital services unlocking convenience, trainees stepping into the jobs of the future, hospitals and emergency care modernizing, young people receiving savings and investments, and families finding real relief when they needed it most. More importantly, this year proved something fundamental. People are not just included in the agenda, people are the purpose of it. Let's take a look at some of the work done this year, pillar by pillar. Pillar 1, Energy Transition. Moving boldly toward a future that is cleaner and cheaper, St. Kitts and Nevis continues to prove that energy is a master key, because when you solve energy, you solve water, food security, and ultimately salaries and national wealth. In 2025, this truth became reality in real, measurable ways as the country advanced its most ambitious energy transformation in history. This year, our geothermal dream finally became a geothermal plan, with financing now secured, contracts reset, and drilling set to begin in early 2026. The Nevis geothermal project is officially on track to deliver clean, reliable baseload power, enough to run an entire country. This country. This shift means stability, a future where electricity is no longer tied to oil prices, where households and businesses benefit from lower costs and predictable bills, where industries can grow more competitively, and where new high-value jobs emerge in a sector poised to define a global development for decades to come. As geothermal moved toward execution, 2025 also became the reset year for the solar PV and battery energy storage project. The government relaunched the initiative, designed to supply over 30% of St. Kitts' electricity once operational in late 2026. The project promises lower fuel expenses, greater bill stability, and a cleaner environment. But most importantly, it promises opportunity. Solar training programs are now in full swing, ensuring that Kittitians and Nevisians will be the ones installing, maintaining, and operating these major systems, keeping the economic benefits right here at home. To support this clean energy future, 2025 also delivered the most significant grid upgrade in our nation's history. A modern energy system demands a modern grid, and Skelec's new energy transition unit has begun upgrading 11 kilowatt legacy lines to more efficient, higher voltage infrastructure. The team is strengthening the grid against hurricanes, integrating smart digital systems, and improving response times to outages. Though much of this work happens silently in the background, it is the foundation that will allow renewable energy, desalination plants, new housing developments, and future industries to operate smoothly and reliably. It is infrastructure that quite literally powers progress. And this progress is reaching directly into people's homes. In March of this year, 2025, the rollout of smart electric meters began, ushering in a new era of transparency and control for consumers. For the first time, households will be able to track electricity usage in 15-minute intervals, helping detect waste, reduce costs, and plan consumption more effectively. Prepaid options will give customers greater flexibility, while upcoming interconnection policies will allow homeowners with solar panels to sell excess energy back to the grid. It's greater choice, it's real savings, it's empowerment in the palm of your hand. But technology alone cannot transform a nation. People do. And 2025 was a year of building human capacity at scale. In January, the Federation hosted its first ever electric vehicle training and certification course, giving local mechanics internationally recognized credentials. Solar PV empowerment training soon followed, along with advanced renewable energy training in Taiwan, turning young people, technicians, and tradesmen into certified green energy professionals. These programs are not just preparing workers for new jobs, they are creating new income streams and new pathways to generational wealth. As EVs, solar systems, smart grids, and battery storage become the national standard, our people won't just use the technology, they will build it, maintain it, innovate it, and profit from it. Pillar 2, water security. This government fully understands that water is the foundation of life, public health, agriculture, tourism, investment, and national confidence. And we continue to make bold steps in securing
Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew, members of the media, Mrs. Lanicia Collins-Williams, our sign language interpreter, and to all our viewers and listeners, home and across the diaspora, good afternoon. Welcome to the first edition of the Roundtable for this year, 2026. I am Javan Liebert, Press Secretary to the Prime Minister of St. Nevis. The Roundtable series remains a key part of the government's commitment to openness, transparency, and consistent engagement with the people of St. Nevis. It provides a structured space for dialogue where members of the media can engage the Prime Minister directly on matters of national importance, seek clarity on government policy and programs, and help ensure that accurate, timely information reaches the public. This forum reflects our belief that an informed public is an empowered public, and that constructive engagement with the media strengthens our democracy. This afternoon, we're pleased to join by representatives from the media in the persons of ZIZ, Roma Richardson, SKN Source, Ebony Brandon, SKN Newsline, Andre Huey, and the others as they trickle in once we officially begin. We thank you all for being here and for the role you continue to play in keeping the nation informed. As a courtesy to all participants, I kindly ask that your mobile phones be placed on silent so that our discussions may proceed without interruption. At this time, I will invite the Honorable Prime Minister to deliver his opening remarks. Following his statement, the floor will be opened for questions, comments, and discussions from members of the media. Thank you for being with us, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Prime Minister?
Thank you very much, Mr. Press Secretary, Mr. Javan Liebert. Let me, of course, welcome everyone to another roundtable. As was pointed out by Press Secretary, this is, of course, making sure that I stay in contact with our people in this particular setting with the press. I want to wish all of our people happy, a prosperous new year. Wish you success, that all of the things that you seek to attain this year, that you are successful in doing so. from a personal level, a family level, community level, also from a national and global level. And so this afternoon is no different to the others in terms of creating an environment where information can flow freely from me as the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis to you, the people, our beloved people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, I want to say Happy New Year as well to all of you around the table. And thank you for being a part of our roundtable sessions so that our people can get the pertinent information. And I want to say Happy New Year to our sign language team. Today we have Mrs. Lanicia Williams. We want to thank you very much as well. You're an integral part of it. And to those who are the camera people, technical people, I want to say Happy New Year to you as well. And thank you, because without you, this would not be conveyed in all of the radio stations and other media platforms that are carrying this press interaction. Now, I want to begin by really zoning in on our last interaction. And I think we mentioned a few things there, but I want to go back through some aspects of our budget. The budget that was recently passed, which was passed last year, 2025 for 2026, that budget had a number of critical objectives. One, of course, being the diversification of our economy and to lessen our dependence on the CBI program. I have said from day one that the CBI would be the most challenging thing for me as Prime Minister and for our administration. And now that time continues to pass, I think it has become more abundantly clear as to why I thought that, even though it may not have been understood by some very early on, but based on what we are seeing happening geopolitically and otherwise, especially involving the CBI program, I think it can be appreciated even more why such proactive actions were taken to strengthen our CBI program and to demonstrate to the world that irrespective of everything else, that this administration was serious about doing what was necessary to safeguard the program and to engender confidence in our geopolitical partners and all of our citizens. Of course, I continue to say that to have our economy dependent so heavily on the CBI as was in the past was a strategic error, a significant strategic error, because we know that the CBI is a vulnerable space. And if you are dependent on a vulnerable space for your main revenue source, it means, therefore, that you have rendered your country, your people, to be very vulnerable. And so our decision to diversify and to basically lessen our dependence would have been a strategy that would have been employed from the very beginning. And today we are seeing that transition, and we think that we are on the right path. And I'm sure that our people can appreciate more why we have chosen that path. There are some things on the CBI that I must touch. The past Prime Minister said some damning things very recently in I think it was an event that took place at the Newtown Community Center. I think it was a town hall meeting of the PLP. And in that meeting, he said that the highest office of any citizen in our country, which is our citizenship, is a product. And that the sale of it, which is, I can say, bastardization of our program, because we do not sell citizenship. And so I want the whole world to disregard that statement from the former Prime Minister. I'll invite people to invest, and on your investment of a minimum amount, you are then further invited to apply for citizenship, after which you will go through a very vigorous due diligence process and evaluation. And if you are found worthy, you are then invited to be a citizen. So I want to make it clear that I am not involved in any way in selling citizenship. And so I want to our international partners also to hear that. He further went on to say that the price is determined when a buyer meets a seller. I want to make it abundantly clear that the investment amount is not determined between the seller and the buyer. The minimum investment amount is determined by the law. And anybody who sells below the minimum investment amount would be breaking the law. And if you break the law, the necessary action can be taken. As a result of this vulgarity that was practiced by the former Prime Minister, I was taken to court for judicial review, where we had to bring in a King's Counsel from Jamaica to represent me in the High Court of St. Kitts and Nevis, where the question was asked, did I violate the law in terms of the minimum investment with respect to the citizenship by investment program? No evidence was found that I violated the law. And as a matter of fact, the names that we uncovered who participated in such that was promoted by the former Prime Minister, I immediately put action in place and asked them to pay the full amount, otherwise they would lose the privilege of having our citizenship. We continue to seek out those who may have participated in such illegality so that justice can be brought and the court would be satisfied that I continue to take action to make sure that our law is respected. It is sad that the former Prime Minister promoted the violation of the law, resulted in the bastardization of our program. And today we continue to see some of the consequences of what I will call the debasement of our program. Nonetheless, we had taken proper action from the beginning, and we have set our CBI program on a new course. And we are now in a stage where we have now implemented, or going to implement very shortly, the residency aspect to our CBI program and the collection of biometric data from around the world, a technology and a company that have been put in place to ensure that. The same company that does our ETA at the airport is the same company that will be collecting our bio data from potential citizens from around the world. And I'm happy to say that St. Kitts and Nevis is leading on these two fronts. We are serious when we said that we will make sure that we do what we have to do to put this CBI program in good standing. I cannot say what any country or region will do. I can say what we will do and what we have done. We have taken strict measures in increasing the minimum investment, strengthened further our due diligence, making sure that the processes are transparent. We have shifted our CBI unit to become a statutory body to have proper oversight. Now we are making two more significant advancements, which is the residency component and the biodata collection component, which will be implemented soon. We have also signed on to the regional agreement where all countries within the region have agreed. And so we are proud of the changes that we have made, and we'll continue to do what we have to do to protect our country, protect our name, and protect our standing in the international arena. The other matter I want to touch on is the matter of the economy, broadly speaking. What can we expect this year? We can expect that water will be more readily available. The desalination plant is in its last stages of commissioning. 2 million gallons of water, potable water, are expected to be produced per day. Presently, it is producing during this commissioning period about 1 million 1.2 million gallons. So I know already people in Basti and Southeast and so forth, Frigate Bay, they're feeling some positive impact of this, even though it is not fully commissioned as yet. In addition to that, we have also started to mobilize the company to drill around St. Kitts and Nevis. The company is here, their equipment are here, and so they are set up at this point in time to start the drilling. So we really, by the end of 2026, expect to have 24/7 water, almost 100% of St. Kitts and Nevis, something that for decades had eluded us. We have invested significantly in water because that is part of really building a resilient St. Kitts and Nevis that serves our people and serve our people well. With respect to energy diversification, I want to say that we have done the complete analysis for a very large solar plant, which will be 50 megawatts. The RFP will be sent out very, very soon, and we expect to start construction of a 50 megawatt solar plant this year, partly at the Bastia Valley Aquifer. We used a company called Castalia, which has a good reputation, and a company that has been in this space for some time. And so all the analysis and evaluation has been done, and that is expected not only to give us cheaper energy, but to help to transition the economy, because renewable energy for us is much cheaper than fossil fuel, which we are subsidizing heavily to keep the cost of living down here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The other matter is agriculture. We are heavily investing in the greenhouse village. We are going to build about 25 greenhouses that are being built at this time, and we expect to conclude by the end of April. And in the greenhouse village, we expect to produce a significant amount of agricultural products, food, so to speak. We have also launched the Nature's Farm, which is 110 acres in the Keon area. I mean, land that was growing guinea grass will now grow food. Food, and part of the pepper project will also be there as well. Many persons off of the STEP program will be shifted from cutting grass to producing food on this 110 acres. It is already started. It's already cleared. It's being plowed. The ground cover is going down. And we expect to have our first harvest by the end of the first quarter. And I'm sure that the press will be invited to see. That would be the largest farm in St. Kitts and Nevis since, I think, sugar industry was closed down. So I think that will be part of our agriculture diversification and also investing in our farmers. So we expect, just as fishing has improved significantly, crop farming, which has improved as well, will improve significantly this year because of the greenhouse village and the extra 110 acres that is now being prepared to go under production. So with energy, water, food, technology, this year we would see the national ID. We would have the most advanced national ID in the region. We'll start the pilot project this month, which is January. This is with the Republic of China, Taiwan, and we expect to complete it in about August. So we'll have our people with national IDs or EIDs that they'll have on their devices, and they will be able to conduct business on their phone, on their devices with an EID. This is a significant technological advancement, and that would help the ease of doing business, the speed of doing business, and the efficiency with which we'll run things here in St. Kitts and Nevis. In addition to that, in the construction area, the hospital, which is now going into construction, housing, we have done significant number of houses. Over 800 and something houses have been built so far, based on our policy. Through the NHC program and through our first-time home owners program and through the program in National Bank. The reason why we have come up with multiple solutions, there are persons who will take up NHC home, and there are those who want to be facilitated to get a loan so they can build a home that they wish to build. That is part of our housing solution as well. They get a very low interest rate at National Bank, one of the lowest in the whole region. Secondly, they get concessions if they're first-time homeowner. And that has facilitated a lot of homes being built here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So between that program and the NHC program, we have seen over 800 plus houses built. And when we say we wanted to get to 2,000, we are well on our way, because we expect to pass, I'm sure this year, well past the 1,000 mark, which we will do, I think, within the first quarter of this year. So we are pushing forward to have 2,000, over 2,000 housing solutions through various programs that the government is putting in place to deal with the housing solutions for our people. So we'll continuously see the building. The other matter is the hospital, as I mentioned before, and healthcare. We see that at Fort Thomas, the construction is moving full speed ahead. And we will also see the Performing Arts Center, which I've never mentioned before. But I think on this Friday, we'll have the groundbreaking for the Performing Arts Center. I've never mentioned that before, because I don't like to mention things until the ink is dry. And that, I think, would be a significant step in us achieving what we want to achieve, to expand our creative economy as part of a diversified economy. In terms of our tourism product, we continue to see increased numbers. In terms of arrivals, we have surpassed the pre-COVID levels because of our strategy to enhance tourism here. In terms of arrivals at the airport. And when you look at the port in Basti, it's very, very busy. Very, very busy. Today we have 4 cruise ships. It has become the norm now to see multiple cruise ships. But in addition to that, we have diversified further with the yachting sector. If you go over right now at Safe Harbor, Christoph Harbor, you will see the largest number of yachts. So far, we have brought in well over 125 yachts into that, in just that short period. We have 500 plus calls, interest for Safe Harbor. But again, Safe Harbor is building out. And we will have business meeting and a startup weekend, because we're going to introduce our people into the business of yachting. The yachting sector here has the potential to be even bigger than the cruise sector. And it is more involved, because you need businesses to do all sorts of things with the yachting business. They need all sorts of provisioning and services. And so we're going to have what you call a startup weekend, where the professionals will come in and introduce to our people the different services that are needed in this sector and how they can form small businesses and become a part of the yachting sector in St. Kitts and Nevis. The yacht, Safe Harbor, is the largest marina company in the world. We were able to attract them, and we intend to compete with places like St. Bart's and St. Martin and so forth. We have the harbor, we have the space, we have the land. And so that will be parcel of our diversification plan here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And further on renewable energy, apart from the solar plant, we expect in February to sign off for the geothermal in Nevis. A company has already been selected. The procurement process, I spoke to the CDB, the president, and he told me that we expect to sign after the financial due diligence, that we expect to sign for the solar, for the geothermal in February. As you know, this is a federal effort to make sure that we can get geothermal going here in the Federation. This is the furthest we have reached with geothermal in our history, and we intend to see it through. So I'm happy for that. So while we would have been speaking about CBI, and the day will come when CBI will no longer serve us, I guess our people are now recognizing why from day one I said it would be the most challenging, and we had started the process already of economic diversification. And so we are seeing it. In the manufacturing sector, we are going to see that as well. Because I can tell you there will be a new factory built in the Green Valley area of St. Kitts and Nevis that will be doing water storage tanks. And that will be done by a local company. And they should start construction, if they have not started the construction of the factory this month. I didn't speak about it before, because again, I don't speak about things unless the ink is dry. And I'm sure people are surprised to hear that we're going to build a factory where we're going to produce here in St. Kitts and Nevis the water storage tanks, those big tanks that you buy of all sizes and types. And then the next stage will be to also do what I would call the spouts, or what you put on the houses to collect the water the water harvesting, the gutters, so to speak. All that will be made from PVC. That will be done right here in the Keon area of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is basically ongoing. So I know I mentioned a few new things today that I did not mention before, but they are exciting things for us to really take note of and will benefit our people in terms of jobs and getting St. Kitts and Nevis to a diversified economy. There are much more things to discuss, but I wanted to discuss this. With respect to international relations, our approach has been what I call proactive diplomacy and not to be reactive in any way. We have engaged international partners on the CBI program, as I've said before, and even beyond. We have engaged our partners and those who have been close to us over the many, many years and the many, many things, I would say, that are of international interest and importance. Recently, we have seen what has happened in our region with respect to Venezuela. A statement was put out by CARICOM. Let me say to our people that in approaching diplomacy, one has to evaluate very carefully what are the risks and benefits. My first objective always is to protect St. Kitts and Nevis and our people. That is my first action. St. Kitts, Nevis first. And so any decision that is made with that in mind. How can we first protect ourselves? And then from ourselves, we move out. Within the CARICOM construct, I am now the chair of CARICOM. And to clarify for people, I am not the chair for CARICOM is a function where you coordinate all of the countries that are members of CARICOM. Any statement that comes from CARICOM is a statement of consensus, not the chairman or the chairperson. The chairperson speaks to the consensus reached because these are individual countries, sovereign countries that come together and we will take the chairmanship, and the chairman is who facilitates that all of this be done. It's almost like being the chair of a meeting. You are not the prime minister of the region. You are not the president of the region. You do not speak specifically for any country. But what happens, the statements that come out, is after robust discussions, what is the consensus reached to be released as a CARICOM statement. So I wanted to make that clear because I see things all around. What is the CARICOM chairman saying and what is the CARICOM chairman doing? And just to let people know that the fundamental role of CARICOM chairman is, or CARICOM chairperson is a coordination role. You're not the president of the Caribbean, and you're not the prime minister of the Caribbean. And therefore, that is done when everybody comes together. Discussions are had and a statement is reached that. As we continue to build out our foreign policy and as we continue to build out our engagement, we have taken a very proactive engagement. From the onset, I want to speak to the matter of third-party nationals because I see that it has been asked about. And I will read something very quickly. And I want us to understand that St. Kitts and Nevis, of course, was approached by the United States of America as the other CARICOM countries. And we took a very proactive approach in sitting with the Americans to reach an arrangement that I think that arrangement is in keeping with our principles and, of course, having the collaboration with the United States of America as well. I know we are intelligent people. I know we have been looking very closely, and I know our people understand that the geopolitical environment at this time is not what we have been accustomed to. We know that there have been shifts, and so being proactive is very important, and I want to thank our people, of course, who have been involved in this. So St. Kitts and Nevis has negotiated and entered into a memorandum of understanding with the United States of America for the potential transfer of certain third country nationals. And I want us to listen carefully, who are citizens or nationals of the Caribbean community. This does not involve anybody outside of CARICOM. And this is in keeping with our CARICOM principle. And I will further say that because of security matters, it does not include Haiti at this particular time. It does not involve anybody from any other place outside of the CARICOM region. Under the arrangement, the United States may propose transfers of CARICOM nationals. This is what St. Kitts and Nevis has negotiated. Without violent or sexual criminal backgrounds. And St. Kitts and Nevis may accept them. We are not obliged according to the MOU. The MOU contemplates jointly develop operational procedures, including capacity-based limits and logistical arrangements. So in St. Kitts and Nevis's negotiations, through our proactive diplomacy, this only contemplates CARICOM citizens. At this time, for security reasons, excluding Haiti. These CARICOM nationals, they are without violent or sexual criminal backgrounds. I think there might be different discussions with other jurisdictions, but in St. Kitts and Nevis, the CARICOM nationals, excluding Haiti at this time for obvious security matters, and thirdly, these persons cannot be violent or sexual criminals, and it has to be agreed to between our partner, the United States of America, and St. Kitts and Nevis. We are a CARICOM country. CARICOM citizens can come to St. Kitts and Nevis, and all CARICOM countries, I think, have agreed to receive their people. So it means, therefore, that this arrangement of, I would call, collaboration really is a scenario that is in keeping with our CARICOM principles. It is not one cap that fit all. It depends on what each country negotiated. But we negotiated proactively. Because as I've said, we have taken the approach of what I will call very proactive diplomacy, that is a diplomacy in good faith, so that the best scenarios can be reached, considering all of the factors involved. For those people who are questioning the importance of CARICOM, CARICOM is not perfect. And CARICOM may not get it 100% right all of the time. But I just want to say to people that without CARICOM, the region will be way behind. Every country in the region will be further back. I will name some of the institutions within the CARICOM that people don't even know exist. But St. Kitts and Nevis cannot do 1/10 of what we do with CARICOM if we were not a part of CARICOM. Very important. For example, SEDEMA. SEDEMA is the arm of CARICOM that deals with emergency and disasters. St. Kitts by itself is not able to do all that is necessary for preparation response if we were to deal with any disasters and emergencies at this point in time. But being with SEDEMA, which is a CARICOM organ, that puts St. Kitts and Nevis in a very good space. So each time there's a hurricane to hit or threaten us, SEDEMA gets activated. And the resources from the SEDEMA start to filter into St. Kitts and Nevis if we are expected to be hit. Before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. The other organ, CARFA. CARFA has to do with public health. St. Kitts by itself cannot do everything that CARFA does. If we were to come out of CARFA, our public health will be in serious trouble. And this is an organ of CARICOM. CARICOM impacts will deal with security matters. We can't do it by ourselves. The Caribbean Tourism Organization, SICRI, that deals with energy, renewable energy. If we did not have SICRI, a lot of these studies and development we have had in the renewable energy space, even the geothermal, we would not have been able to do it. It would have been extremely challenging to be done. We have CARICOM Development Fund, CDF. And CDF is involved right now with projects here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have the University of Guyana, which is now part of CARICOM. The Caribbean Council of Legal Education. The University of the West Indies is as a result of CARICOM. We could not have had a university system here where our people would have access to all of these courses if we weren't a part of CARICOM. CTU, Caribbean Telecommunications Union. Caribbean Meteorological Organization. CXC is CARICOM. And I can go on and on and on. CADI, Caribbean Organization of Tax Administration, Caribbean Agriculture, Health and Food Safety Agency. So from law to medicine, to disaster response, to banking, to education. As I go through the list of all of these organs that are part of CARICOM and offer all of these services to us, if we were to do this by ourselves, we will not be able to do it. And hardly any country in the Caribbean will be able to do this by themselves. Even Jamaica, when they were hit by the hurricane, the first agency outside was from the CARICOM. Afterwards, we see the filtering of linesmen from Canada and here and so forth, but CARICOM responded first. And so when we think of CARICOM, I want us to think about UE, CXC, CDB, SEDEMA, which deals with disasters, CARFA, which deals with public health, Caribbean, the CDB, Caribbean Development Bank, CDF, Caribbean Development Fund. And the list goes on and on and on. So CARICOM is not perfect, but without CARICOM, I can say that our development would have been a couple decades behind. And because of CARICOM, there's a greater sense of security for us. And the last one I will mention is the RSS, the Regional Security Systems. Why is that important? If something were to happen in any CARICOM country at this time, the RSS can mobilize very quickly to bring security or to attempt to bring security. That is when your own security system is overwhelmed if you are part of the RSS system, and we are part of that system. And we know that because some people will say if things get out of hand, is the RSS coming in? People ask that question all the time. And the only reason why we have an RSS is because we have a CARICOM. That is a service of the CARICOM that we benefit from heavily. And RSS does a lot of work, train our police officers, train our military, monitor our security system so that if there's any upheaval, anything that threatens our security, whether internally or externally, we know we can call an RSS. And this is offered, of course, to all of the members of the regional security system. Why did I go through that? Because I hear a lot of talk about what is CARICOM saying, what is CARICOM doing. We cannot say that CARICOM is not facing a tremendous, tremendous situation at this point in time. But I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that CARICOM has delivered and continue to deliver. And we should continue on the pathway of the integration movement. Sometimes things you want to achieve may not be achieved overnight. There might be setbacks here and there, challenges here and there, but we must not give up. Because when you look at the benefits far outweigh what would be the other scenario if they were not in place. And therefore, I'm very proud of what CARICOM has delivered to the region and what CARICOM has delivered to St. Kitts and Nevis. And I say this because we benefit from these things. And sometimes we don't even know where they're coming from. We go to UE. Why can I go to UE and get economic costs? Caribbean Development Bank. You write your CXC exams? Why do we have that? The IRS coming in? Where does that come from? There's a disaster here. How do we know that a hurricane is coming? What is our response? Who is preparing us or who is working with us? All these things are because of CARICOM, and we would not be able to do these things alone. We are just too small to effectively do all of these things alone. And so CARICOM put out a statement. It's a collaborative statement. You have to look at the diversity of views within CARICOM and seek to reach a consensus. And after a consensus is reached, that is what is put out. Would it be a perfect, as some people might have it? It will never be, especially when you're dealing with a consensus type of situation. I mean, people are in personal relationship, just you and one person. And you have to reach consensus at times, and nobody gets 100% of what they think they should get. But the better scenario is when there's a consensus so that everybody can have a space at the table. And so I want to see that. The last thing I will talk to after touching on the matters with respect to that is there's some benefits from the budget. For example, we now have the lifetime $1 million coverage for all civil servants and GAE workers. So you have that. And there is no change in terms of fees. It's still subsidized by the government. And for the first time, retirees have lifelong coverage. Your coverage does not end at all. Your coverage goes until God calls you home. Because what used to happen, people used to cut off at 75. And sometimes it's at those later years that you really need health insurance. And so we have now shifted that to benefit our people to have lifelong health insurance once you're a civil servant or GAE worker. Not only that, the benefit used to be $100,000. After you're retired, we have carried it from $100,000 up to $500,000. So just think about that. I think that's a significant increase. It has increased exponentially. And then the amount you pay depends on how much you used to work for. So those who work for a smaller amount will pay the least amount to keep their benefit going. This is what you call solidarity, that you have a system where everybody works to benefit everyone else. And so I want to say that I'm very, very happy that we're able to reach this. This year, we are going to start the national conversation on national health insurance. We have achieved 2 significant milestones: national health insurance expansion for our civil servants and GAE workers, working and retired. And now we have set up the Children's Medical Fund, which has worked excellently well. And now it's time to take the conversation to the general population. And that conversation is to be had. A lot of studies have been done in terms of the cost, what it would mean, so we can discuss with our people so that our people can determine where we go. But we are going to present to our people what is the actual scenario with respect to all of these things. So I just wanted to give that update. It's the first of the year, and I wanted to give that update with respect. There's some other things that I wanted to talk about, but I will touch them in my wrap-up if they don't come out in questions at all. And so I'll end it there. Mr. Javon.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We can move straight into it, yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Brandon?
Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes.
I normally go last, but I'm going first today.
Okay.
when we speak about negotiations with the U.S., especially this new U.S. under a Trump administration, it's nothing like we've ever seen before. So I would like to be very frank and ask, in these negotiations, what did St. Kitts and Nevis ask for? Because it implies mutual benefit. I'm speaking specifically to the third party.
Right.
It is deportation we're talking about, those persons who might come to us. If they're coming to us...
They can only be CARICOM
within
nationals.
CARICOM,
Yes.
of course. So even if they are coming to us and we are not accepting Kittitian and Nevisian nationals, we have expectations that we have obligations to these people. What about those people who are not from St. Kitts and Nevis? They're going to use resources, they're going to require health care, and there are a number of things that are going to be required. So what did we ask for in the negotiations with the United States, particularly when we are receiving persons who are not nationals specifically of St. Kitts and Nevis? And anyway, in the negotiations with the US, did we seek to have conversations that would look to protecting our citizenship by investment program, for example, although it does not have anything directly to do with third party, you have a table open to you where conversations can be had. Concerned about that and would like to ask that question. The second question I'll ask for now is with relation to this Venezuela ongoing situation. Again, something we have never seen before, but I don't think a lot of people are putting specific emphasis on the Petrocaribe agreement that we have with Venezuela. I'm concerned because we are now seeing the enforcement of US sanctions. We are seeing the seizure of vessels containing oil. The global market now is floating at between $57 and $60 a barrel for oil, which is not terribly high compared to 2008 when it was about $100+ a barrel for oil. However, under the arrangement with Petrocaribe, what we had essentially is financing for oil, which gave us a greater degree of energy security. What happens to us now with this situation ongoing with the US, Venezuela, and our needs, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but for those of us who have arrangements with Venezuela with respect to Petrocaribe?
Right, thank you very much. With respect to the CARICOM nationals who might come here, it is contemplated that all of the costs will be borne by the United States of America. Yes, the travel, if they have to stay here, all of that will be borne by the United States of America. So it will be no cost to us. As a matter of fact, I had a call with the embassy today. So we're going to meet to put all of, the costing and everything in place so that it can be as smooth as possible. And then, there are CARICOM nationals and we can facilitate their return. And all of the CARICOM countries have already accepted that they will take their people, right? So I think is where the negotiations went, and that is where we are at with that. With respect to Petrocaribe, again, because you speak about the sanctions, we have not received any petroleum through Petrocaribe for a long time. So that will not directly affect us, right? Because as you know, the sanctions were there and so forth, and we respected what was there. It would be best case scenario if things were different and we can receive this special arrangement. But I can say we have not for some time, and we have been moving on without it, keeping in mind that we can't depend on it. And that is why it's so important when I speak about the energy independence, the 50 megawatt solar plant, the geothermal on Nevis, because it is very important that we develop our own source of energy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Once we become energy independent, it means we will be water sufficient instead of scarce at this point in time. And once we have energy and water, we can grow a lot more food. So we need energy, water. So the energy, water, food nexus is what we are seeking to develop. And you will see that. We have been speaking about it, but it has started. Because when you go to the farm, and I hope when I go and I invite the press, some of you will come. When we go to the greenhouse village, when I visit with the Minister of Agriculture, so y'all can see what we're doing, when the solar farm is going to be built, and the geothermal, according to CDBD signing, the final signing should take place in February of 2026, and we should have drilling for geothermal starting this year. That is what is projected. But just to let you know, things can always shift, but that is where we are at this particular time. So the bigger question is, how do we become energy independent so that what is happening in Venezuela, the fluctuation of the oil prices around the world, that they don't affect us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is why we have taken the path to become energy independent. So these are very good questions, and I hope that I have answered those 2 questions for you as such.
It's just a short follow-up to the first one, though. The U.S. is going to be covering the expenses, great, so that's not coming out of taxpayer dollars, but how long do we expect to host them before they move on to their own country?
Well, all of that, that will be discussed in the logistics, what will be the logistics surrounding it. So I can tell you they will not be criminals. The only infraction they would have is that they probably overstayed in the United States of America. And once they're here and they are going to be dependent, there would be a mechanism put in place where there's no cost to us. And that is what I said we're going to negotiate. And I will keep our people updated accordingly in this particular scenario.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Drew.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to touch on the question about the third country deportees.
Yes.
What concrete benefits does this agreement provide to the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis? And how does the government justify this decision in the national interest?
Okay, good. So if you were to look at, and we have to understand what is happening with respect to negotiations. So we have negotiated this with the U.S., which the U.S. wanted to negotiate. As a partner, we went to the table and we negotiated it. We asked for some safeguards, obviously, from a security standpoint. One, that these are our CARICOM people. We have CARICOM movement in St. Kitts and throughout the CARICOM. That is already as an established agreement throughout CARICOM. So it does not necessarily infringe on anything that we have already. That's one. Secondly, as I said before, the cost will work out to be borne by the country that would ask for us. And we have the option to determine if this is the right fit for us or not based on this scenario. And the benefit is, those are some of the things we will negotiate as well. What that would be like. This is the MOU, so we have a memorandum of understanding, and then we'll put those logistical pieces in place to determine the specifics. But as you can see here, we are making sure that it does not, while we negotiate and while we have good bilateral relations, which you would know helps in a lot of different areas. I mean, we know the reality of the geopolitics. It does not put us at a disadvantage in any way, shape, or form. From a security standpoint, from a cost standpoint, and of course, once we negotiate it even down further to determine how else St. Kitts and Nevis. And you ask about what other things put on the table. We're always negotiating with the United States of America. Let me tell you what I've come to recognize at this particular point. If it's one thing I've come to recognize, that the United States of America is willing to talk. I've come to recognize that. Each time they put something out and you said, look, this is something that we'd like to have a discussion on and so forth, they're very willing to have discussions. And I think being proactive about it, not allowing things to get to a crisis mode and then you have to go back, I think it is the best way. Because if you look at where we have come because of our type of diplomacy, we were on a list to be banned. We know that. It came out, I think, is March last year. And then another list came out after that. We know that, for whatever the reasons are. But we believe if something like that happens, just like others, we would engage in diplomatic discussions. Good faith diplomatic discussions. What are your concerns? St. Kitts Nevis, Mr. Prime Minister, these are our concerns, which we take very seriously. Because any country that reaches out, it doesn't matter if the country is big or small, I think that there needs to be a proactive type of approach and discussions in good faith. Why do I say that? I mean, let's say Stacia reach out and Stacia say, can we have a collaboration with Chicks for our egg security? Anguilla reach out, we want to see what your crime from a public health perspective is. You don't just, you negotiate, you discuss, and you help as far as possible. Where can we reach? Because in negotiation and relations are, they're multifaceted. They have a lot of moving parts. One thing might seem isolated, but we know it is not isolated at all. It's connected to a lot of other things. We know that. And I think the people of St. Kitts and Nevis understand that. They understand the geopolitical environment. They understand how does a country continue to thrive in a particular geopolitical environment without burying our heads in the sand. But those are good questions that we have made sure from a cost perspective we are protected, from a national security perspective that we are protected. And so I think that would not be detrimental to us in any particular type of way. But you asked about the CBI and have we negotiated that. We have had discussion with the US since I came into office, and we continue to have them. And I continue to take their concerns very seriously. I don't think you should just brush their concerns under the rug. Their concerns should be taken very seriously, just like any other country, and have meaningful, good faith discussions and see the best scenario you can reach at to protect your people, to protect your country, to protect your economy. All decisions are not easy decisions. And I didn't expect that the decisions would be easy. But one of the things, or the most important things, that guides me, is how would our people feel? Not F-E-A-R, okay? Not that type of fear. How would our people do? Let me use a different word so that there is no ambiguity. That is what guides me. How would our economy do? What about our long-term well-being? All those things have to be factored in at this particular time. And so one decision, even though it seems like one decision, is connected to 100 other things. And so these questions that are being asked are solid and excellent questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Good afternoon, everyone. I have two unrelated questions.
Sure.
First, what should residents here know about what's happening between the US and Venezuela and other players, and how can we prepare for the impacts? And related to that is, what is the government doing in the spirit of proactive diplomacy to mitigate negative and unwanted outcomes? For example, we saw airspace closed for a bit, other things like that. But especially the focus on how individual and citizens, residents will be impacted. And then the next question for now is, some countries or harbors are known for or have expertise in specific services provided to yachts, like carpentry and woodworking.
Yes.
Is there an intention to train for specialist offerings here?
Thank you. Very, very good question. Yes. As a matter of fact, at the startup weekend, we intend to do this. There has been a company that has expressed interest in actually doing some yacht building here. And we are in negotiations. I didn't mention it because the ink is not dry, but since you brought it up, I mentioned it. So I wouldn't say it is done, but I can say that it's in negotiations. But that is how far they want to go. Why? Because the harbor here is one of the largest, and it can accommodate super yachts and multiple of them. It is a prize harbor. I consider it a prize marina. And therefore, they see the potential that can be had. Already, you would know Safe Harbors invested significant amount. They have their own desalination plant, for example. They produce about 70,000 gallons of water per day. And what they have said to us, in the off-season, when the yachts are not coming in as much, that they would offer that water to us. This is the first time I'm saying it. So that would help to strengthen our water security. Their desalination plant is already working. It's a 70,000 gallon desalination plant, I can tell you. That's just one of the things. I've invested heavily over there. And therefore, I think what you are saying with respect to carpentry, even beyond that, they are looking for these special. As a matter of fact, they have asked, because they bring in a lot of people, because the yachting sector needs these specialists. And not that our people can be trained to do these jobs and to take up these professions. But to really open up this season, they had to bring in a lot of specialists to really keep to get the sector started. But the hope is to get those specialists trained here. So when I meet with Safe Harbor, one of the things I'll put for them, can you collaborate with our college to start the training for the yachting sector in the college? So I'm hoping we can have, let's say, our first course next year. That will be part of it. So we can say, let's train 50, 100 young people and prepare them in the college. So by the time they get into the sector over there, they will be well prepared. So you are correct. So the yachting sector needs all of these things, I can tell you. To the point where they're asking about yacht building. Of course, this is very high level, but of course, our people can be part of that as well. Now, you asked about mitigating the outcomes and so forth. Now, in the proactive aspect of diplomacy, we want to know, what will happen and how we can prepare our people to deal with some of these fallouts. It so happens that sometimes you may have all of the information at the same time. But in developing these channels to find how can we develop a channel to make sure we get the pertinent information at the right time so that we can do what is necessary. I consider there's some effort to do that. For example, with the third party nationals, they will sit with us and we'll sit together and work out a framework. So we know already what to expect, what not to expect, and we put our scenario that we can work with on the table, for example. So it's not just doing it, but being proactive in making sure that we know the parameters or the factors that would be involved and how they can impact our people. So that comes from part of our proactive diplomacy. And so we want to continue to work this type of, I would say, interaction, collaboration, so that the best scenario for us would be had. And so that is where we are with that. But that question with respect to making sure that we mitigate, we continue to work on that. I know you might speak when the airspace was closed, for example, and how that might have affected flights. And then some people could not get out. The best case scenario, of course, would be to know ahead of time that something like that might happen. And that, based on what is being done, it depends on how much information might be flowing at a particular time. But it is always the objective to get the best case scenario and to see how best you can position your country even in challenging times. All right. Yes.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Happy New Year.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year to you.
And Andre Huey, SK Newsline and TVC Channel 40. On the third-party countries question, I know that the U.S. adopted this policy for countries, for nationals of countries that, for some reason or the other, are refusing their nationals from returning. What conditions would require a CARICOM citizen or any country in CARICOM not accepting their citizen that is being deported that would warrant them sending that person to St. or those persons to St. Kitts and Nevis? I don't know if that was discussed in your discussion. And as chair of CARICOM, and I've seen you've outlined CARICOM's stance essentially on this issue with Venezuela. But there are still some who believe that CARICOM's statement was not strong enough, that it could have been stronger, that there should have been a definitive condemnation, so to speak, of what the US did. What do you say to those persons, critics, who believe that CARICOM needed to be stronger in its response to this new development?
Thank you very much for your two questions. Good. Now, with respect to the scenario of a CARICOM national who cannot be returned to their country, there might be very, very few cases that might be a possibility. Very few cases. So that is why we don't expect an influx of CARICOM nationals who will be coming from the United States to St. Kitts and Nevis. But let's say for some reason there are a few CARICOM nationals for some reason cannot return. Nothing to do with crime or violence, for whatever the scenario might be. And we say that we are open to consider our CARICOM brothers and sisters in those scenarios, with the United States partnering with us for bearing some of that cost. Presently, if you have a CARICOM national in any country and it's not a matter of crime and violence, and a leader picks up the phone and calls me and says, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to have that national in St. Kitts and Nevis. We do it all the time. I don't know, sometimes we don't. We do it. We do witness protection all the time. We take in CARICOM, country to country, negotiations, discussions. I can take 2 of your people, and sometimes they take our people. We just don't advertise it. So we have that type of framework already set up in CARICOM. And it happens all of the time. So that is in keeping with what we do as a region already, for whatever the scenario might be. So if we don't see much scenarios like that, that is why we don't expect there would be an influx. However, let's say there is a very few, it already fit into the framework of accepting some CARICOM nationals for special circumstances that we don't disclose at all, but is in keeping with what we do as CARICOM countries. And that is already obtained within our region. Even within the OECS, for example, because of our movement, someone can move from, let's say, Lower Windward and move into St. Kitts. And they have the rights to work and live in St. Kitts and Nevis within the OECS. Some countries have now gone to establish that with CARICOM. 4 countries have entered into that. And I think as we go on and we put all of the framework in place, it's going to expand. But presently it is Barbados, St. Vincent, Belize, and Dominica. If you're in Dominica, you can just go to Belize, register, and start to work and live in Belize, because they have agreed that those 4 countries at this time are ready for the free movement between them. So that is where we are heading. But outside of that, we already have arrangements where we move our citizens for various reasons, country to country, to have them be in a different country, apart from the skill certificate. Because if somebody has a skill certificate in a CARICOM country, they can come here and work. And if you have a skill certificate as a Kittitian, you can apply to another CARICOM country to work in that area. And that is why we wanted to do the TVET and the CVQs, because a lot of people come here with the CVQs from other countries, and we recognize we were disadvantaged. Our people were not getting that skill certificate so they can go. For example, a carpenter. Let's say you have a big hotel being done in Bahamas, and you are a skilled tradesman. You can use a skill certificate and go to Bahamas to work. Let's say we have a big hotel working here, and we need a skill that we don't have here. A Bahamian with a skill certificate might be able to come here to work. And that is why we want our skilled people to move around, because you might need skilled workers in one area, depending on the scenario at a particular time. And so we have had that. We have had where workers came from Guyana, for example, during the sugar industry, and they came and they worked. Many of them stayed. They are citizens today. They live here among us. So we don't expect to see an influx, and we expect to see just a few scenarios where that might have to be, and that will be an arrangement so that is no economic strain on St. Kitts and Nevis with respect to get our CARICOM brother or sister, whoever, to move. That's one. With respect to CARICOM statement is a collaborative statement. It is a joint statement. In CARICOM, you have all of these independent sovereign countries and associate members. It's mainly between the independent countries or the sovereigns. And a scenario is put forward and a statement is to put out. The statement involves everybody. Let me tell you, let's say you put out a statement and countries start to dissent. You see what happened between 2 territories recently. A statement went out, 2 countries end up on different sides of the statement, and a big spat in public with one country eventually settled down, and I think, calm heads prevailed. But if each time CARICOM is to put out a statement, and you have a country dissent, and this one dissent, and that one dissent, and then you have this spat in public, that does more damage to CARICOM than really getting around the table and saying what is the best situation we can reach in terms of putting out a statement to deal with a particular scenario. It does not necessarily have to be what is happening with Venezuela and so forth, but it can be on almost any other issue. And so CARICOM is a collaborative effort. And I want to say to our people again that the chairman does not write statements for CARICOM. What the chairman does with the secretariat is coordinate to make sure that everybody participate in the issuing of the statement. So you do preliminary statement, you put it there, people comment on it, what they can tolerate, what they cannot tolerate, what they think should be changed, So everybody has a chance to see it and to discuss it and to see. And you always seek to get what I would say the best case scenario, meaning that all states can really sign on to whatever the eventual statement is. And that is how the process works. So sometimes, let's say you have one state who say, let's send out this type of statement. She says, say this. Another state going to say, no, but I don't think that should be in it. Let's consider this. Let's consider that. This we think should not be there. And this one will say, include that. So, it's like, just think about even your own home. You're negotiating with your wife. You have an opinion, your wife has an opinion, or your partner has an opinion, or even your family members, and you're trying to reach the best scenario on which to go forward. And so that is how CARICOM operates. If you go to the European Union or any other scenario where you have multiple countries in an arrangement, ours is the integration movement of Caribbean nations, that is how it is obtained. So I just wanted to stress that, and that is a very good question. So I know there were questions about the statement could have been stronger. Some say, you should not have mentioned this. Even when you're arguing that it should have been stronger, there are those who think really something should not have even been mentioned. So you're still trying to find that ground where everybody can, whatever statement is had, is palatable to all around the table. That's what we seek to do. So that is how it works with CARICOM. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's see if they have.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
So last year we saw, and I believe felt, a reduction in homicides,
Yes.
specifically gun-related ones. However, this year, we unfortunately saw the fatal stabbing of a young man just 2 days into the year and during one of our biggest celebrations. What are programs like Elevate and your National Security Ministry doing this year to reduce violence even further, especially among people who are not yet known or might not yet be known to Elevate? And just seeking any updates on the construction of the new BHS.
All right, no problem. Now, with respect to that, as you can say, and I want to take this opportunity to really congratulate the efforts of all involved. The police, Commissioner Sutton and his team, his high command and his team, the Defense Force, Acting Commander Sutton and his team, and all of the soldiers there. I want to thank all those who have been a part of the Citizen Security Secretariat, who have worked tirelessly hard on this, all of our partners. Because to take the crime rate down, overall, homicides dropped by about 76%, and gun-related dropped by over 80-something%. It is the biggest drop across the whole region. It is bigger than Jamaica, it is bigger than Trinidad and Tobago, or any other country. And I would say that is tremendous, and that in itself stands on its own. Our objective is to get to perfection. That is the objective. But sometimes along the way, perfection is, it deludes you sometimes. But we still want to reach that scenario. However, it must be noted, a significant achievement. And so Elevate has put a number of programs in place, because this is police in collaboration with the social aspect and other aspect of citizen security that are working here. It is not just about knowing who is known, but it's about being proactive as well. We have started, for example, through Elevate, proactive programs in the prison to decrease return to prison, recidivism. We identify who you are when you come out, and there's a meeting to be had to see what is your scenario when you get out, and what can we do so you don't return to prison. In the prison, we have the farm program, the education program. We have yoga and all these things in prison as well. And we have, I think it's called Hearts of Love, where we allow prisoners to meet their children. For example, we had that over the Christmas. All these are programs that help in the rehabilitation of those who are in prison at this particular time. We have the after school or the suspension program, where children used to be suspended and be sent home. Now you're not sent home, you're sent to a program when you are suspended. That program presently is being conducted at the Keys Community Center, where you come and you have to do your work. Because we have the technology, they have access to computers, and their education do not stop, and it is structured and organized instead of sending you on the street. We have programs where we interact with multiple social groups to get them a part of the whole concept of citizen security, so that within their organization, they're also spreading the message of citizen security and anti-violence. With the security forces, we have started the security forces sports program, football, where we have hundreds of children. We had a young man who got a scholarship to the United States out of that program. We have a program at Elevate. Do you know that Elevate is a CXC certified center? So the members can actually write their CXC exams at the Elevate Center. And so we have free classes for our members and others, the community in general, and they can go there. So you might be people who are not identified to be in anything, but we want to take care of those who are vulnerable as well. And so this program is cast a large net, and I would say citizen security, everything fits into that, from the law enforcement, the judicial system, all the way down to things like football, because it is an all-of-society approach when it comes to the question of citizen security. And so we will continue to work to make sure that we get it even better. But I have to say, and you must agree, that it has been a tremendous amount of work that has been done, and the results have, been astonishing. The last time we had single-digit homicides in a year, I wish for zero, but the last time we had single digits, 2003. 2003. Not even during COVID, when the place was locked down, that we had single digits. The last time was 2003. And the next time is 2025. That alone is a tremendous, tremendous achievement that must be pointed out. But what I pointed out here is all of the aspects of Elevate. We're now going to start a farming program. So we have an educational program. We're starting a farming program where we already have the land to get people into farming. We have an educational program beyond just the CXC. We had members who graduated from AVEC. They did their qualification at AVEC, and they're now working in the private sector. We had one of them who completed the teaching course and is now a teacher. Can you imagine that? From that to being a teacher? They have been totally rehabilitated, gone to school, studied, passed, have proven themselves and qualified themselves to be a teacher. And I said to the people at Elevate, you have to let people know what is happening. We had them do cybersecurity. We had them do the solar panel course that they passed. So, construction, EV, yes. So they have done multiple courses which they are passing. And then we are connecting them to jobs. We also have we have refurbished the Horizons. So we're going to have now Horizons will be part of the network of citizen security. So it's a very comprehensive approach that we have undertaken when it comes to citizen security, and to touch those who are not even identified. Because it's supposed to be all of society when it comes to this matter. But I would like to say that this has been a tremendous achievement. St. Kitts was identified as one of the countries that is safe to travel during the winter period by the United States of America. And so again, it shows that people are noting the tremendous achievement. And I want to encourage all of us in St. Kitts and Nevis to continue to work towards that. When you have crime and violence under control, that is why you had so much people coming into St. Kitts and Nevis, numbers surpassing pre-COVID time. Look at the cruise ships that are coming in. Sometimes they're not even scheduled. It is because people are regaining that strong confidence, even beyond what we expected in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we must never, ever give up that. And so you ask a good question. For that young man who lost his life, of course, to his family, I want to extend my own condolences to the family and to the community. But I want the community to know that we'll continue to work, and we cannot do it without you. You have to be a part of the citizen security strategy and approach. Yeah. Yes, the Basti High School. Now, we have a number of critical projects to take place. The hospital, the school, Fort Thomas housing, and so forth. But I can say to you that the Basti High School is on its way. A lot of the structural things are being done outside of St. Kitts, to be shipped to St. Kitts to be erected. Like the steel structure, the steel frame, that cannot be done here. That is being done outside to be shipped here. So I can tell you that that is being done at this particular time. And so we'll know that that will be on its way. We have another, housing will be on its way. So there's a lot of construction that will take place this year as well. But it's ongoing, and we are waiting for the shipment of those steel structures to start to erect the frame of the Basti High School.
Prime Minister, I know recently an announcement was made about the Nigerian technical team that's here, particularly the nurses as well.
Yes.
Can you indicate or say whether or not this, I know it's to fill the shortage at the of nurses, but was there any requirement, or is this in any way trying to shore up any unforeseen issues with the United States as it relates to Cuban medical officials? I know in the case of Antigua, the Prime Minister clearly stated that they went for Ghanaian nurses primarily for that reason, because the U.S. was hostile to Antigua and Barbuda with the Cuban nurses, and so they needed to fill that gap. Was this in any way for St. Kitts Nevis, a similar situation for St. Kitts Nevis?
Thank you very much. The United States that I mentioned before had approached us, and they were concerned that the Cuban program might be connected to human trafficking. We have said to the United States, we take their concern very seriously, because St. Kitts and Nevis must never be part of anything that is considered to be human trafficking. That is against our principles as a country, that is against our laws, and therefore, if the United States or any other country who would bring that concern to us, we'll take it very seriously. We have been in dialogue with the United States on the program. I can say we have more Cuban doctors who are not connected to the Cuban brigade working in St. Kitts and Nevis. So those on the Cuban brigade are of a lesser number. So I can say that. Now, with the Nigerian, as I said before, when I launched the Back to Africa type of diplomatic outreach, you see how aggressive I was on it. It is because I envisaged that these are things we can collaborate on. Why should we put all of our eggs in one basket? We should never do that for nothing at all, neither for health professionals or anything else. And so we negotiated with Nigeria and discussed with them. A lot of Nigerian doctors were trained in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have given Nigeria a lot of doctors, and I'm proud of that. And Nigeria has sent to us, I think, a number of professionals. And these professionals are, of course, doctors. And the doctors who come from Nigeria, they send experienced people. They can't have less than 7 or 8 years of experience. So they're experienced healthcare professionals. So we have doctors, nurses, technicians, and so forth. Physiotherapists, nurse specialists in ophthalmology, that's eyes, anesthesiology, that's putting you to sleep. We have emergency room doctors, so people are going to work in the emergency room. We also brought a urologist, that's another prostate doctor, a male doctor. Because we have a lot of gynecologists, 4 or 5, but we only had 1 urologist. And we said men need good health care as well. Because, women are covered and they should be covered. Huh? And you hear? I hear we need more. And so now we have 2 urologists. And which one you said? Yes. Good. Exactly. Yes, women need urologists too. That is true, right? Because they deal with the urinary tract. Not just the prostate. But at least now we have a second urologist. And then we're going to have about 2 or 3 more doctors in the emergency room who are experienced doctors to strengthen our emergency room as well. And so this is not directly connected to that. This was part of our strategy to diversify and reach out to the African continent to collaborate more. And healthcare is one of the things that we negotiated with them. We're also going to have nurses from Ghana. We already have nurses from Ghana. So as you can see, none of this is reactionary. None of this is reactionary. All of this was because of proactive diplomacy and foresight and our plan to diversify as far as we could. So while, so we're not scrambling at all. We are very comfortable. The doctors are here, the healthcare professionals are here, the Ghanaians are here as well. And so, how do you say? Ghanaians, right, Ghanaians. They're here as well. And so we know we'll be covered. In addition to that, we have given scholarships to our nurses under very favorable conditions because we are short to get specialized, to get our people to specialize. And in the ICU right now, our nurses are specialized and they're local. Our doctor is a specialist. The first time we have an ICU specialist working at the hospital, and then we have ICU nurses who are specialized as well. And we are sending more nurses to specialize in ER and anesthesiology. So our aim right now is to get our nurses, our local nurses, to specialize. And they're already going and come back. So it's strengthening our healthcare. So I'm very proud of how far we have come in such short space of time. But specifically to speak on with the Nigerians is not specifically about that. It was always our strategy to reach out to Africa and to diversify. So you see, that is why it's good to diversify. So now if you enter into a concern from the US that you have to take action on, and we have already started to take action, it wouldn't leave you in a bind or you'll be rushing or reacting, but you will be very proactively and seamlessly making sure that your healthcare continues to improve and move on. So people would not even notice the difference, right? And so that is very strong. So I know in all of the areas where we have specialists, if you were to take out the Cuban specialists at this time, it would have minimal impact on the hospital. It would have some impact, but the impact has been mitigated significantly because of all the other things we have done.
Just to be clear, you don't have any medical professionals right now on the Cuban Brigade program, or you have
we have
small
but but the number is probably the smallest in a long time.
My learned colleague here asked the question I wanted to ask
Yes.
about citizen security. So I'm going to piggyback off of something that was said here in the first instance, which is why do we have such great difficulty attracting persons to find careers in healthcare?
Yes.
That's the first thing, because we keep
Yes.
coming back to healthcare and having to bring in healthcare workers, whether it's from Ghana, Nigeria, Philippines, Cuba, wherever. The substantive question I wanted to ask, though, is back again to this crisis facing our region right now, removing Venezuela from the situation, because that has already happened, that ship has sailed. What concerns do we have for, again, Cuba? Certain declarations have been made with regard to Colombia and Mexico. These are our immediate neighbors in the Caribbean Sea. All of them are washing the Caribbean Sea shores. What has, if any, conversations has CARICOM had with regard to the possibility of military action taking place in or around these countries?
Thank you very much. With respect to the healthcare workers, we continue to promote our people to get into the field. For example, one of the issues that we had with nursing is that they needed, I think, a science and maths, and a lot of the persons who were interested did not have these subjects. So we started a pre-nursing course at the college, and fundamentally to get them prepared for the full nursing course so they can get the the maths and the science and so forth. So that is part of what we have done to get our people into the healthcare field, and to the scholarships that we are offering to our nurses to go and specialize, the special situation, conditions, or I would say, the lucrative conditions to get them to go and specialize that we have set up is to encourage our people to go. So we have taken action on that. And with respect to the medical aspect of it, we we have sent doctors, people again to study overseas, and we are encouraging our UE graduates to return home to contribute as well. That, I think, we have a number of doctors at UE who graduated that we should get them in, but we continue to send people overseas to study. As you can see, the healthcare needs continue to increase, but we are proactively pushing to get more of our people into the health sector, because we need them. We need surgeons, we need radiologists, we need urologists, we need nephrologists, neurologists, all the gist that are there. We need them. We have we have the largest number of specialists we have ever had in our history. I can tell you that at the hospital we have endocrinologists. People may not know. We have an endocrinologist deal with diabetes and hormone problems. We have a neurologist who deal with nerves and seizures and epilepsy and fits, as we call them locally around here. And we have urologists now and nephrologists and oncologists and radiologists. So we have a wide spectrum at this time of specialists at the hospital. Almost any. The next one we're going to bring in is a cardiologist. So we'll have cardiology services starting in April of 2026, and we'll start stress testing as well.
Is compensation in this year?
Compensation for
healthcare workers?
No, I don't think it is the major issue. Because the nurses, the issue was when we did the pre-nursing course. I'm not saying that it is not a deterrent. When we did the pre-nursing course, it filled up right away. And then the rejection was high. People just didn't apply, because when they look at the requirement, they say, well, I don't have the science, and so I ain't gonna even apply. But when we said the pre-nursing course, you don't need them, we saw it failed. So then we recognize we don't have an issue with people being interested. It seems like the matter was, do people have the preparation and the requirements to actually get into the course? So in a sense, I think that has helped tremendously. With respect to, CARICOM, we have heard, OECS is going to meet, CARICOM is going to meet as well to discuss anything. CARICOM has put out the statement. But we don't have any direct information that there would be anything else on anybody else. We have not heard that. We have not seen that. We cannot say that it is not there. We cannot say that it is not there. But the best case scenario is that we'll keep proactively engaged so that the best situation can be had. And that is a challenging area. But we'll continue to do our best. Yes?
You can move straight into your...
Wrap up?
Wrap up.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Press Secretary, Mr. Javan Liebert, who is always well prepared. I appreciate your hard work and dedication. I don't think people appreciate how much work you do behind the scene. One of the things I wanted to touch on was the Citizenship by Investment program again. And the reason why I'm touching on this is because we are seeing it a lot in the public, and I want it to be clear of where we at with respect to it. Now, under the Citizenship by Investment program, it was reported, and we have the numbers, that for the 7 years of Team Unity, they made about $600 million per year. Of course, it was a different scenario, and that was what they engaged in was unnecessary. It just brought scrutiny and challenges for us that we are facing today. However, if you were to multiply 600 million by 7, that will give you $4.2 billion. If you go back to the Nevis, to the Charlestown Accord, because I want to bring up of how Nevis was duped in all of this. I will go back to it. I just have to go back to it. Because I think people need to understand what happened here. In the first place, $4.2 billion, and you don't have water. How do you explain that? $4.2 billion, and you had an ambulance without oxygen. And you had a minister of health then standing up in parliament and saying, the reason why there's a shortage of ambulances is because ambulances are expensive. And you have $4.2 billion. $4.2 billion, and you never buy one new generator to be put at the power station. $4.2 billion, and you have a hospital that was leaking. $4.2 billion, and in 7 years, you could not build the Basti High School. And so one has to ask, what did you do with the money? This is the worst management of money that I have seen. How can you tell people, be boasting, $4.2 billion, but the next question the person going to ask you, well, show me what you do with the money. And you can't show what you did with the money. But let me say, Nevis was guaranteed 25% of that money, 25% of that money under the Charlestown Accord that was signed in 2014. If you were to work out 25%, because is population per rata, if you were to work out 25%, how much should Nevis have gotten as a result of that? If it's 4.2 billion, at least $1 billion, right? At least $1 billion. Nevis only got $200 million. And I said it in the budget, and I have to say it again because I went back and looked back at the numbers. Just the money alone that came into the consolidated fund. I'm not even talking about the SIDF fund, which was about another $500 million. And Nevis got, that's $500 million, and Nevis got way below $100 million out of it. Nevis should have gotten $1 billion based on the agreement. That is attainable. That Nevis should not have been robbed. If they sign an agreement, stick to your agreement. So what was done with the money? If you kept Nevis money over here in St. Kitts, and Nevis, and you still ain't got water, you still ain't got a school, your hospital leaking, you still ain't got ambulances, you still ain't got enough generators to generate energy, then what did you do with the money? That is what you call grotesque mismanagement or gross mismanagement of the people's finances. And with less, we are doing desalination plant. With less, we are doing a school, the hospital, more housing. As I said, because we already surpassed how much houses they did because we're above 800 based on our policies and what we offer to our people. So what did you do with the money? And so I wanted to raise that again because I think this question needs to be asked of the former Prime Minister. What did you do with Nevis' $800 million at least? Where did it go? We need answers for that, of course. And so I wanted to raise that other matter with respect to that. And so I think I've covered most of the things that I wanted to raise today. The other matter I wanted to raise was the SSZ. I promised the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that we would have an SSZ ad hoc committee to look at the legislation. So I just want to read a short statement. Here, the ad hoc advisory committee that I established to review the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act met for the first time yesterday, Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. The meeting was constructive and candid, with members engaging in open and frank discussion on the purpose of the Act, its structure, and the concerns and perspectives that have been expressed by the organization and the wider public. The initial engagement marks the start of a focused review process, and over the coming weeks, the committee will continue its deliberations and is expected to submit a report to me setting out its observations and recommendations, including any proposals for amendments or procedural enhancements to strengthen the Act, as I have said from the beginning. That report will be given careful consideration as part of this administration's ongoing commitment to transparency, good governance, and responsible economic development. This is the Act. It has nothing to do with any specific plan. This has nothing to do with destiny, and I want people to know that. I said from the beginning, the objective of the Act is to balance investments and to become attractive while protecting our sovereignty, our constitution, our laws. So when I hear country in a country, this Act is to make sure those things don't happen. And if there's any gaps, if there are any gaps in the law that that can be perceived, the amendment is to make sure that that is not even perceived, if there are any gaps. So we are going to deal with that. If there are any issues that there might be a possibility of a country in a country, we want to deal with that. If there are any issues of sovereignty encroachment, we want to deal with that. If there are any issues that all of our laws will not be followed, we want to deal with that. There cannot be any court system outside of our court system. That is, our court system has the final say. There cannot be a police force that is outside of our police force. People can have their private security, but our police force is what runs the security of the country. And therefore, as I promised, that I will bring the committee together to look at this. That was always the plan. Let me say clearly, if we did not have this law in place, just like other major developments came and happened, and people did not know until they started, it would have been the same scenario if you are worried about any specific development. But this law says they must come to Parliament before they can go forward. And so I'm proud of what has happened here in terms of our people doing exactly what I wanted them to do. Discuss any major development that can affect St. Kitts and Nevis in a robust way so that the prison project does not happen again. You had a prison project here, and when it was asked about, the then government say it is an industry secret as to how much citizenship were offered. I can say to our people, up to 25,000 citizenships were offered under that project. I said the number before. Before they said they're going to hide the number because it's an industry secret. It cannot be an industry secret. The citizenship does not belong to you, it belongs to the people. That is why you can't call it a product. It is the highest office of any sovereign nation. Citizenship, it is sacred, and it has to be handled that way. And that's why it should never be bastardized. And that is why I condemn the statements that our citizenship is a product. It is not a product. It is the highest office of any member of our society. And it should be treated in that manner. And so therefore, I reject those comments with respect to that. But I'm simply saying, if you had this law in place, you couldn't have had a prison project without the people know beforehand. And you wouldn't have politicians telling the people it's an industry secret and they can't tell you. And therefore, this law is achieving what we wanted it to achieve: openness, transparency, and the robust debate of our people. So I want to thank all the members of the ad hoc committee, and I look forward to working with you as we seek to strengthen the legislation. And even after we strengthen it, if there's something else in there that needs to be strengthened, I'll go back to Parliament again and strengthen it, because our country must be protected. That is why this law has been put in place. And so with that, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. I want to thank the members of the press for your participation and allowing this type of forum to serve as a means of conveying pertinent information to our citizens. So thank you. Happy New Year once again, and take care for now. God bless.